Masters Shanghai is the second international event of VCT 2024, and the stakes couldn't be higher. From Fnatic looking to reclaim the throne, Americas and EMEA battling it out for the title of Best Region, PaperRex looking for Pacific's first title, and EDG looking to stand tall in their home country of China. This is bound to be one of the most exciting events in VCT history, with teams like 100 Thieves, G2, Leviatan, PaperRex, Gen.G, T1, Fnatic, Team Heretics, Fut Esports, Edward Gaming, FunPlus Phoenix, and Dragon Ranger Gaming. This is the Haters Guide to Valorant Champions Tour, Masters Shanghai. After what was a disappointment for Pacific fans at Masters Madrid, falling short once again to Sentinels, PaperRex had a conundrum to deal with. They had Monyet, who was their race player, not bringing the it factor to the team. And while he didn't play bad in any metric, PaperRex was giving another opportunity to choose a different player. To bring back Jinggg, as he was excused from military service just before the start of Split 1. This meant that Monyet was shit out of luck, despite having a really solid performance at Masters Madrid. Still, with Jinggg returning, the results were about what you expected. PaperRex dominated the season, only dropping one bizarre game against Team Secret. At playoffs, they were not the top seed of their group, losing that privilege to DRX. But after beating Talon Esports in the knockout round, they would beat DRX, sending them to the lower bracket, and this would qualify them for Masters Shanghai. In the upper finals, they would face T1, where PaperRex would coast into the grand finals after destroying them 13-3 on Lotus and 13-5 on Sunset. Their opponents at grand final would be Gen.G, and they would have to slug it out going all 5 maps. And after the dust settled, PaperRex would be the ones to win VCT Pacific Stage 1. This roster is better than they were at Masters Madrid, and it shows by beating Gen.G. Changing Jinggg from Monyet only increased their chemistry within the team, and the W gaming mentality from previous years is still working. This team is in the eyes of many the favorite to win Masters Shanghai, as they look like the team in the most form for the tournament. Luckily for them, they have time to prepare for other teams as the 1 seed, and because their season ended much earlier. Let's just hope that Alex doesn't break his desk while coaching again. Gen.G, after their amazing performance at Masters Madrid, kinda fell into a bit of a slump during the regular season, dropping games against PaperRex, DRX, and their rivals in RRQ. Fortunately for them, they were in their weaker group with Team Secret, T1, Global Esports, and Bleed, and still managed to get top seed with a 3-3 record. This would mean that they would have to play against T1, which they lost, and against DRX, they would be able to send the 1 seed of the Omega group home. They would then have to play against T1 and swept them 3-0. At Grand Finals again, and in the map 4, it would seem that Gen.G was about to repeat history and steal Grand Finals away from PaperRex. Unfortunately for them, PaperRex learned the art of not choking at a Grand Finals, and Gen.G would end up being the 2nd place for VCT Pacific. I have always been a Meteor fan, and I've talked about how good of a player he is since Northception, and his willingness to put his ego aside to allow players like Texture to play the Jet role. Speaking of Texture, he is insane. The man put up 105 kills during the grand final, breaking the kill record in a VCT match. While players like Lakia and Karon have regressed a little bit, if they can find their form, I still do believe this team has the potential to be one of the favorites to win it. T1 is a team that was largely a disappointment during kickoff when they failed to qualify for Masters Madrid. The team had plenty of hype, and the roster moves seemed to be well thought out at the time. After losing at playoffs to PaperRex in embarrassing fashion, they would have plenty of time to correct their mistakes, and while their season wasn't particularly strong, the team did manage to find 2 wins against RRQ and Zeta Division to qualify for playoffs. They played against Team Secret, which they had beat cleanly with a 2-0 result, then upset Gen.G, and then got demolished against PaperRex. Unfortunately for them, after their upset against Gen.G, they would not win 1 map in any of their rematch versus Gen.G and PaperRex. I don't think this team is a Masters winning team, despite having solid players like Sayaplayer and Eeui. The most hype part about their roster is their opponents in the first round, which we will talk about later in the video. EMEA's favorite team is back. Fnatic suffered from one of the worst curses you can have as a team, stagnation. At kickoff, they changed nothing about the way they played the game, and it bit them in the ass, where much like Na'Vi, they missed the international stage after losing to the new kids on the block in Karmine Corp. They went into the offseason and changed the way they played. Their comps look much cleaner, and the teamwork has improved. It's not perfect, and their flaws still show, even against other opponents. The regular season record was 3-3. Their stage 1 started in the funniest way possible when Boaster claimed that Fnatic was better than every other team at Masters Madrid, and then Team Heretics proceeded to humble them quickly. They lost to Fut Esports and Na'Vi towards the end of the season and beat Koi, Gentlemains, and Giant X. At playoffs, they would face the most mid team in all of EMEA in Team Liquid. And despite the first 2 maps being close, they were handily able to defeat them on Lotus 13-5. In poetic fashion, Fnatic would have to face Karmine Corp once again, and this time, Fnatic would not be denied, as Leo was on a mission to qualify for Masters Shanghai. And even after, in the interview, Boaster said Leo was so pissed and wanted it more than anybody else. And it showed later on, because at Grand Finals against Team Heretics, Leo might have pulled a 97 Jordan flu game, because the man was ill and wasn't allowed to communicate, yet still managed to win the game and be the top fragger for the entire match. You all know I don't like his team, but goodness gracious, Leo, earn my respect. He's insane. Team Heretics was a team that many were excited for. Los Niños proved that they are the next big deal in Valorant. Benjyfishy is the highlight of the team this split. He has been so clutch. MiniBoo is still fragging out, and Woot finally joined the roster as promised at the beginning of the year. The team went 3-2 in the Omega group and finished behind Na'Vi and Fut. And despite all of that, they would still have to play both of the teams ahead of them in playoffs. Against Na'Vi, they would have to claw their way back from an 11-9 deficit on Lotus, and after a back and forth game on Split, they would run away with the lead after round 18. Versus Fut, it would be another battle where the first map would be decided after the 18th round in favor of Heretics. And on Split, Fut looked like they were going to win another map again early on, where Fut had a score of 12-9. But Heretics would be able to get 3 rounds back to back to send them to overtime, and then they would win the map. This team is so full of energy, and it's so hard to root against these kids. When they slowed down a bit during the regular season, they proved that in the playoff, they are a completely different team with a different form. Their comeback in several matches proves that under pressure, estos muchachos no fallan. As of 2 weeks before Master Shanghai, there was unfortunate news that MiniBoo was announced as inactive for Team Heretics due to mental stress with school and in his personal life. I unfortunately think this negatively impacts the team, as he is one of their key players that plays Neon, Yoru, and Raid, all characters who are meta right now. But I wish him nothing but the speedy recovery, and Patitek will take the reins of the substitute player.
Fut are the 3rd seed from EMEA, but they're certainly not to be underestimated. Finishing top of their group, going 4-1, only losing to Heretics. During stage 1, they have looked very consistent. Although playoffs didn't go too well for them, they managed to qualify for beating previous Masters attendees Karmine Corp. Fut's team atmosphere looks great. cNed seemingly looks to be back at his old Ascend form, especially when he's playing Jet. The ensemble cast of teammates with him, which includes Cracks, the star KO player, who has now started to play other initiators such as Gecko, has been putting up some very solid numbers. At a captain, he's the true rock of the team and is always consistent and gets the needed frags when he has to. Mr. Valyn has proved that he is one of the best IGLs in EMEA. Whatever comp is given to him, he somehow makes it work, especially the no initiator Lotus comp, somehow beating Fnatic even though they had already played this very hard counterable comp. And finally, Eeui, the young star who has been steadily improving and is giving Woot a run for his money as the best upcoming star in Turkey. Not only is Fut schooling very strong, but their firepower across the board is very consistent. If they gain momentum, the Fut train is very hard to stop.
Thank you, Ford. It's always a pleasure having you on my channel. Make sure to check out Ford TV in the link in the description below or at Exit Frag Podcast. EDG are in a tragic situation. They are clearly the best team in China. The unfortunate reality is that they play in the worst league in VCT, and some of the undisciplined characteristics of other Chinese teams rub off on them. There are many instances where the level of gameplay mimics that of pre-franchised VCT, where individualistic plays are rewarded and chaos tends to ensue. This has brought EDG down from a team that was once seen as the threats to established VCT teams at the international stage to the gatekeepers of good Valorant. EDG at Masters Madrid didn't even make playoffs, and I don't want to downplay their talent either, as they were able to beat Paper Rex at Madrid, but the reality is that they've had no opportunity to improve their play because they play such bad opponents. I know Chinese Valorant is quite young, as the game just officially released in the country, but that dream of them having to win Masters Shanghai is very slim, especially when you have a reinvigorated Paper Rex, the return of Fnatic, the rise of 100 Thieves, and even in the group stage, players like Team Heretics and Leviatan. It's going to be tough. This team is going to have to step up an insane amount. Kang Kang cannot do everything, despite him having the raw talent to do it, as we've seen in the past. These tournaments are never won because of one person. They are won because a collective group of people's synergies outmatch other people's teamwork. I just don't see that level of teamwork when I watch Chinese Valorant, and it's a shame because I would love to see a Chinese team lift up the trophy in Shanghai. I want to believe, but the pragmatic side of me has about 10,000 red flags saying this won't occur.
I'm so excited to see FPX take on the best of the best in another Masters, because it's been sorely missed. I'm so excited about what the madman Angel will cook up with Artist, Xiao, and the rest of the gang. They just might win another trophy. Wait, what? This isn't 2022? And FPX has been a Chinese team for 2 years now? Well, I didn't really prepare for this. Let me just take a quick look at them throughout the season. They're definitely going to be more reasonable than the European FPX core. Oh god, no! Clove on Icebox? No Sentinels on Lotus? And a Yoru on Ascent? This team is more insane than Angel. As with Berlin at IGL, this team has been an exciting and interesting team to watch out for in China, as this roster is full of players that can shock international teams. As while Berlin has been a top tier fragging IGL, Life has been the standout duelist since they first stepped foot on the big stage. Now bringing out Clove for his team to build a unique comp for Icebox. They went undefeated until an overtime loss to EDG in the grand finals. FPX also has the lone Australian player in the VCT in Autumn, who has been a solid addition to the team as their Viper. But even with the patch, he should have one of the easiest times compared to the other teams in Masters in adapting, as he has shown promise with Harbor on maps like Breeze, which took down EDG in the upper finals. But still, there are very few expectations for them, especially after being placed against their worst possible opponent in Fut, who also uses off-meta comps. And if you've seen the most recent Exit Frag episode, you'll know that me and the rest of the guys, other than Zeph, are huffing that pure FPX copium, with me having them upset Fut in their opening match. But I guess we'll just have to see if FPX's off-the-wall strats and comps can take the Valorant world by surprise and make a deep run, showing China isn't a one-team region after all.
Thank you, Andy. Your help is always appreciated. Make sure to check out Esports Andy in the link in the description below or at Exit Frag Podcast. Dragon Ranger Gaming. What a badass name. Much like G2, this is an Ascension team, proving once again that Tier 2 can be just as good as Tier 1 in Valorant. Well, in this case, better than a lot of other Chinese teams. They got here by beating Nova Esports 2-0, getting smacked by EDG, and then beating the ultimate chokers of VCT China and Trace Esports 2-1. Only to get incredibly embarrassed by EDG once again. Lord knows that I, as an NRG fan, cannot downplay Chinese Valorant teams, as they have upset some of my teams in the past, but goodness gracious, there is no way on God's green earth DRG are going to beat Team Heretics even without MiniBoo. This team is so undisciplined, and even on their best map versus EDG, it was more of EDG playing like idiots than it was DRG having great execution plans. Team Heretics are one of the most disciplined teams of all of Valorant, and the talent on that team will ensure that DRG don't win. Even looking at other teams in this group stage, I find it so hard to believe that they have any chance of winning even a single game. G2 had a very bizarre season. They didn't qualify for Masters Madrid, and they made immediate changes to the roster. Net, who was a long-standing member of the team, was replaced by Icy. So many people were confused by this move, as the core had been together for a long time. In the early stages of the season, Icy was giving the entry role by creating space, and he was decent at best, while Valyn would have to constantly frag out. Icy didn't generate the flashy KD that many look for in duelists, but G2 still qualified by statistically making it in. They did not look in form for a playoff run, let alone a Masters Shanghai qualification. Then, against Cloud9, they would prove everybody wrong as every member of the team stepped it up. Yes, some of the rounds looked sloppy, but Icy really improved, getting a 233 ACS, 40 kills, 28 deaths, and 9 assists, and he started to finally find his stride. Then, against Crew, they managed to play some of the most disciplined Valorant we have ever seen from them, with a 13-5 and a 13-8 scores on the leaders of the Alpha group, and they managed to qualify for Masters Shanghai. G2 would lose to 100 Thieves, and in the lower finals beat Leviatan in order to get their match against 100 Thieves. In their first match against 100 Thieves, they could not keep up with them, and while they had the lead on one map, 100 Thieves had prepared for this match, and managed to win all but one round on attack at 13-9. At Grand Finals, G2 had the opportunity to win the first two maps, but weren't able to perform the second half of each of those maps. In the last one, 100 Thieves were in their element and closed the match out, winning 3-0. G2 is a team that's still finding their footing, and that's a good thing. They have improved almost every aspect of their game, very similarly to 100 Thieves, but a tad slower. I think this group Swiss stage for them is perfect to find some momentum, and if it weren't exciting enough, their first opponents will be T1, who has been building around a player that these guys are incredibly familiar with. Sayaplayer was a former guard member and he was their main duelist, but now, since the start of franchising, he's been the main duelist for T1. This should be an incredibly personal match, and it should be one of the better opening matches for Shanghai. Yo odio este equipo. I hate this team with every fiber of my body. I hate the way that you build your team, I hate the way you pretend to be a LATAM team, I hate the way you beat Crew. You represent everything is wrong with franchising, signing 2 North American players and not giving the opportunity to players in the Tier 2 LATAM team a chance to compete in the highest level of play. I know some LATAM folks feel the same way, because when I was watching the Valorant Latino American stream, half of the comments were saying, Leviatan no es LATAM, and because it's my obligation to hate on these teams. And let's talk about the super team. ASPAS has been playing on an incredible level. He legit seems unstoppable. King's calling has become much better, and he is no slouch on the aim department either. Com has found his place on his team, and while his lurks annoy a lot of people, he does seem to have some nice moments here and there. Tex and Mazzino are just incredibly solid players. If you missed the stage 2, Leviatan lost a bizarre game to Cloud9, in which the players had to have a conversation amongst themselves, and that ensured that Leviatan would not lose a single match up until the playoffs, where they would play 100 Thieves, who were riding a wave of momentum. In the lower bracket, they would beat Crew and eliminate them. But in the lower bracket finals, they couldn't beat G2, losing the game 3-2 in one of the craziest games in Americas to split. As long as this team has ASPAS fragging, they're always going to have a fighting chance, and that pisses me off. The guy literally just broke the single map kill record in a VCT match versus Sentinels. Gira traiçoeiro. I love being proved wrong, especially when these are the results that I'm given. I would just come out and say that I was wrong about Asuna. I dogged him in the last haters guide because of performance issues, but my goodness, he has been solid as hell this last split. High ACS, and has been creating tons of space for this team. One thing I did get right was the fact that Boostio was not going to save this team single-handedly. It was going to take everybody to step up, and they have. The potential bang shows has been realized. Just look at his performance against G2 in the Grand Finals of Americas. Cryo is back. He's been gunslinging on the operator and looks like the deadly player he was in 2022. Eeui finally got his revenge on the guard G2 core in the Grand Finals event, and has been playing some solid Valorant. Ziggs, and yes, Boostio have completely turned this roster upside down and changed how they play this game. More aggressive playstyle, paired with an IGL of Boostio's caliber and Zigg's coaching, thank you Potter, has shown us that 100 Thieves has realized their potential in being a top team, and I hope that winning America's Stage 1 is just a start. This tournament is bound to be exciting. There are so many chances for a new team to win the trophy, and some of these matches are incredibly exciting, like G2 versus T1 and Gen.G versus Leviatan. Currently, the winners of Stage 1 tournaments have an automatic entry to the playoffs, and each of those teams will get to choose their opponent when the playoffs begin. If you would like to know more about my predictions, make sure to check out Exit Frag in the link in the description below, with Esports Andy, Fut TV, and That Nerd Kaizing, where we preview and predict the tournament and make our blind power rankings picks. Thank you so much to Fut TV and Esports Andy for helping me out, and huge shout out to all the channel members: Enkles, Amob23, No Man's Wolf, Where Aware Vintage, Juicy J, Juan David Vergara, Here is John, Sat XN, Hal Hades, and Tax Evasion. Your support helps me continue to make content. Thank you for watching, and have a nice day.